Kiwi Yarns with Brodie Kane.
There's that moment where you've got to start something like this and walking out into the water. And it wasn't an easy start because there was actually quite a bit of surf coming through. So I had to swim through the breakers. I got to the end of the breakers and I was like, well, that was tough. Like 400 metres of swimming.
Yeah.
And then started kind of heading down parallel to the coast somewhat on our track. And we were going a little bit further out, a little bit deeper to try and mitigate against sharks. Like our plan was to go about 2K, I think, or so offshore. Within the first 90 minutes, at about 90 minutes, I had an encounter from a shark. So I'm swimming away, I'm breathing to my left.
Oh my God.
The IRB is about 10, 15 meters off to my left. And then I breathe to my right, and there's a shark that's just big guy, cruise right next to me.
Oh my God.
And my instincts just took over in that moment, and I swam away as quickly as I could. We stopped the swim. I went up onto the boat. I was like, did you guys see that? They were like, no, we didn't see anything.
No.
Yeah, and then
Seriously?
we had a 20-minute pause to just make sure that there were no other sightings of that shark. I got back in the water knowing that I just had this quite close encounter with this very large animal in the water, and then over the next 90 minutes, because of the lack of sea legs, the nausea, the emotion, I started vomiting in the water as well. So I was pulled out after 3 hours of swimming, about 10 kilometres, vomiting a dozen times and seeing a shark, and that was our first day. And then there was another 3 months to go.
I mean, I can almost guarantee you, wherever you go to talk and what have you, the shark stories is the one that gets everyone. You know, everyone wants to hear about the sharks,
Right.
other than all the other beautiful stuff. I am absolutely. So this will lead into quite a good about the. So what were you doing? Because I know this. I know that you can spend lotto, you can build a house, you can have a job, and you think of all of that when you're swimming in your first hour, and then your mind is blank. So what did you do in your mindset as you set off, knowing? Because I had a similar thing. I was still in the water while the shark was there. I didn't get out. Not allowed to get out because the swim would have been over. Knowing that they had seen the shark, and I want to know what you did then. What were you saying in your head, or what? In fact, for the whole of the swim, what were you doing? I bet. What were you doing?
What was going on? Did you have tools?
On the first day.
Well, first
any
day,
other and then what were you doing? Because I've got a feeling might be the same.
Oh, well, that day,
This sucks.
it was
Hope he's not hungry.
it was a bit of a strange experience because, again, after like so much anticipation talking about it, I was finally doing it, and there was so many different thoughts going through my head, like, what are you doing? Is this possible? All that kind of stuff. You've got all of those kind of thoughts kind of working their way through, and then you get into a bit of a rhythm. I was probably at that point where I was in a good rhythm, and then we had the encounter, and then at that moment when I'm on the boat getting back in, I didn't think too much about what could happen. It was more, we just need to keep going, and so that was the overriding thought that powered me through and got me in the water and kept me going. I think it was probably, in some senses, it was a good thing that swim was short, albeit it wasn't really my choice, or it was my choice. I could have kept on going, but having that experience with the nausea and the vomiting and everything that came with that was quite good to actually have a shorter session on that day. More so, I think, just the emotion of the day. It was huge.
I mean, I read that you use some sort of shark repellent, because in the old days, some of them used to swim in shark cages and what have you, and they've got all sorts of problems with them, with the fuel and the smell of stuff while you're swimming, what have you. What was that true? Were you really using some sort of shark repellent?
Yeah, we were using a shark deterrent called a shark shield.
What was it?
It emits an electric pulse. So it's like a coil, and it's designed really for spear fishermen so they can hang it off their leg or something like that. We had it hanging off the side of the IRB, just trailing into the water. But it has an effective range, I found out later, of about 3 to 5 meters maybe, right? So you've actually got to be quite close to it.
So from side to side and up.
Yeah, like a radius, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't convinced, but I thought it was one of the questions I wanted to ask you. How does that actually work? Because when you look at the coastline that you were coming down, there are some definite pockets of their territory.
Yeah, and for the first week or so, we had a shark sighting basically every day. I think it was like the second day or third day we headed out. We got out to our GPS point for the start of the swim. I'm starting to get ready, and then there's this fin that just comes by in the water, and it's like just there, and it's like, it was a mako shark, and it was like, oh, okay, so, they're definitely there.
Well, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but being so, for me it was a bit confronting because it was so in your face, and I don't want to give sharks a bad rap.
no, they're great. Great creatures.
But you've also got to be very respectful as well. And
yes, which I actually felt that you did. So in your head, as you're adjusting, maybe day one, maybe day two, sharks again. What I still want to know, what got you through the days, and in terms of thinking, because I know that when I embarked on starting to train for this. You're in your pool, so you're training, and as I said, you've spent lotto, you've built your house, you're doing that, and you've still got 2.5 hours of swimming to do. So what else was going on your head, or were you?
Like, what was I thinking about?
Yeah. Or were you? Or did you have a strategy to get you through those hours, day after day after day after day?
Yeah, for the first maybe 4 or 5 weeks or so, I kind of just let my thoughts go wherever they wanted to go.
Oh, okay.
And then after that, there was a lot of intention around following breath, following strokes, and actually developing like a rhythm in my head to be able to, like almost like a chant.
Yeah.
Using my body to kind of connect with that as well to help just move the time forward and get into that flow state. And that was really successful actually, and helped with ignoring things like later on that we had to deal with, like the cold, and the jellyfish kick you out of that pretty quickly, to be honest. But getting out of your head in a way, and just getting more into your body and like the connection with the water, and that really helped.
That's what I was getting to, because I remember talking to Philip Rush, and he said, well, you count and count. And so the first swim, I spent most of the time going, I'm swimming the straight, hundreds and hundreds and thousands of times. The second time I counted, and I can absolutely tell you I never got to 100. Never got to 100. I counted all the way across. So I was, because I tried all those kind of I mean, that's only a day swim. I'm not talking about getting back in the next day and the next day and the next day. And I've been intrigued to go how you prepared yourself, because some of those swims were pretty long.
If we stick to wildlife, because obviously there was sharks, let's go to, there was a variety of beautiful seabirds and dolphins, and jellyfish also we respect. They've got their place. Possibly ideal if they didn't come near you, but they did. So they slammed you, eh?
Yeah. So I'll come back to the jellyfish probably. We can talk about some of the other cool stuff.
The nice ones.
Do the cool ones. Had that. I want to talk about that. It's got to be the shot. We have to enter that shot in the photography of the year. There'll be plenty with that Molly just looking at you, and you with your head up, and it was so close.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel that your quest had you on side with everything except the jellyfish, even though I felt that they could have parted the way for you as you were coming through. That's what I felt the jellyfish would do. But everyone else knew what you were doing and why.
Yeah.
And they tell us both about some of those encounters that you had.
Yeah, I mean, we were able to see some amazing things, like up north, there was a whale around us. I didn't actually see that. We had orcas around Papamoa Beach, pretty close to where we were. Being able to
Stingrays?
see some. Yeah, I actually swam over an eagle ray right at the end when we were coming into
Oh, did you?
Whairepo Lagoon.
Oh,
That was
right.
quite cool. Seeing in certain places, like Hole in the Rock, for example, there were a whole lot of reef fish around there, some schooling fish in places, like seeing quite a few kahawai. Like I'd be swimming at times pretty close to some workups, which was interesting. And then, you've got the seabird activity up top, and then I can see things happening below. The most memorable experiences for me were definitely the ones with dolphins.
Oh,
So we were waiting a long time to be able to have some good experiences. We saw some around Whangarei Heads, coming across Bream Bay, and then some around, it was somewhere in the Coromandel.
Yep.
And then there really wasn't a lot. We were kind of surprised by that. I was really expecting to see a little bit more, because we were traveling down the entire coast, and we were in places where I'd expect there would be dolphins. Then we came into Hawke Bay, so just south of Mahia Peninsula, coming across there, and I started to see some dolphins in the water, which was just incredible. And they were these little pods to start off with, coming across Hawke Bay, maybe 10 dolphins at a time, and you can hear them in the water. You can hear their chatter before you actually see them, and then they're coming around. They're kind of like coming and having a look. It's an amazing experience. So I probably had, I don't know, going across Hawke Bay, which was about 4 days or so, probably had a dozen or so experiences, different pods that were coming through, which was really cool. And the crew would signal if they could see something. This was we developed a hand signal for dolphins, like a wave in the water. And then as we got further south, the pods just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And parts of kind of lower Hawke's Bay, upper Wairarapa, like around, I think it probably would have started around Poreriri, around there, coming down to Castle Point. Some of the pods were just huge, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these dolphins, and I could hear them in the water sometimes 5-10 minutes before they came. You can hear this like just constant, it's almost like not a whistling, but if you've heard a dolphin before, they've got a very familiar kind of sound. And
when I swam with them in Kaikoura, which was incredible, the people that take you out on the boats are like, if you sing to them, they'll sing back.
Right.
So I've got these amazing videos because I took a GoPro down, and so I'm going, and at the time you're like, I sound like an absolute knob, because I'm going, but then they're like, well, they're cool noises too, and so they're swimming around you, making the noises.
That's right.
It's so cool.
Yeah. And I've never heard anybody do a good job.
But on
Even myself, I'm like,
on the same respect, Michael and I were on the boat while they were all swimming with them, and we sang to them, and we made our noises off the boat, and they all came along to it. So they do. If you
pretty incredible, yeah. And with those really big pods as well, it becomes so loud that you put your head above water and you can still hear them. Which is just insane. And then, and then they're all around you. They're kind of checking you out. They know exactly what they're doing. It was interesting.
Yeah.
Like, I got to the point where instead of stopping and like diving and, kind of playing around with them, I just keep swimming.
Going.
And you could see that they responded to that. Like, they'd go down, they'd dive down maybe 15, 20 meters or so. They'd hang around, and then they'd see you and they'd come back up. Like, I could see this happening, and I felt like they kind of liked that energy. They liked the energy that you bring, and they liked kind of playing in the water, and they'd come just close enough that I wouldn't be able to touch them. They'd be about 10 centimeters from my hand, but they knew exactly what they were doing.
Because you found that, because you said they'd come up and then go like, but never touch you. Yeah. And they're like really fast.
They're
and
so
they're
cool, aren't they?
beautiful.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Very, very cool.